All right, everybody, it is week 8. We are halfway through the semester, and we're making pretty good progress as far as all the major components of making a game. We're going to continue today on making a monster that will attack us. Having some sort of opponent is, a critical element of most games. A couple lectures ago, I showed you, how to make the lever. There's a lot of different ways of doing that, too. The way I showed it wasn't even the way I'd probably implement it, but it works. You walk up, you touch it, the lever things, and things happen. That's a primary interaction in a video game, and the big thing that we still need to talk about is damage, like how you kill things and die and win and lose and stuff like that. So once we do that, then we can get into heads-up displays and having a main menu and all that kind of stuff. So let's get to it. The IS50B people, if you're looking at their pictures on the chat channel, they're building a castle using the procedural wall spline system, which if you want to see how to do that, I posted it on the IS50B playlist you can find, and that is procedural. Yeah. Okay. So that was done using the... I don't know why that search just doesn't work half the time. This one here. So this is free until the end of the day. So if you want to buy this, you can buy it. It's normally, I think, $20 or something. You can buy it for free on the marketplace. Search for Procedural Spline. And if you want to see how to use it, you can watch the video here, which is like 45 minutes long, or you can see my video, which kind of goes over it a little bit faster, I think. Okay, so let's get to it. And you'll see the castle that I made on Tuesday in there. Cannot hear anything? You can hear? Hello? Hello? Okay. Okay, alright. Did you not launch? My projects are gone? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's why, okay. Maybe if I search for here, procedural, there we go. Alright, but in seriousness, like sometimes when I search here, it just doesn't do anything, and I don't know why. Okay, yeah. Okay. Let's do this. Fall 2021. Here we go. Yeah, everyone can hear me? Okay. Alright, so here is the castle that I made in IS50B last time. These things are called splines. A spline is a curved line kind of thing. And if you once you have it out, you just kind of alt drag and you just add new elements to the wall just like that. You notice the textures all slide instead of scaling when you make them bigger and smaller, so that's cool. You see how they're snapping to the ground? That's cool also. So yep. You can add moss and age and things like that to it. You can add doorways. So I built a tiny little castle with a little secret treasure chest on the inside. Okay. So if you want to check that out, again, that's in the IS50B playlist. Okay, that's the one. So $10 normally. Okay. All right. So right now we've got our knight who shoots glitter bombs for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And we've got our goblin. The goblin just kind of paths up to us. We added in the ability to have it sense us even if we're behind it. So if we want to break line of sight, still found us. Still found us. And it knows how to follow stairs, but it doesn't know how to jump off of walls and things like that. So I'm gonna hide over here, and now it's gonna start randomly looking around for me. Okay, so that's where we were last time. You get rid of that cube. Yeah, so there's a couple things we can go from here. First, we can implement a damage system. Second option is we could replace this with like an actual animation, have a little actual goblin in there. We can have it, I don't know, like you can improve the AI a little bit so it doesn't just come up and nose you, like it'll stop a certain distance away. I don't know. Yeah, if you have that cube mesh attached, like if you've got like what I did here, the eye point is not attached to the cube. So yeah, if you delete that cube, it'll be fine. Shouldn't we have our third-person characters have punching and other animations? Yeah, you can add it. All these things we can add. So you tell me, what do you want to see? Do you want to learn how to do damage first, or do you want to learn how to do animation first? We can do them in any order you want. Because we've roughed it out, you know. So we got this thing, it's working. So where we go... Oh, water is also another thing we can do. Like I said last time, this underwater area right now, you just kind of fall through it. Bloop! You just kind of hit the ground, which, you know, we got this post-processing effect on here, which looks pretty cool. What is that thing? Oh, that's a boundary. But it's still not water, and so we can make it so we can swim in here, if you want. To do damage, you don't have to have animations to do damage. You can just have it do a trace line and inflict damage on you if you want. Or we can do damage by running into you. Yeah. What do you feel like? Take a vote. The polls are open now. Text. 1, 2, 3 if you want to have water physics. 1, 2, 4 if you want to do damage. 1, 2, 5 if you want to do animations. Damage system. Good. Yeah, it seems probably the most important. It's unselect view. Okay. Can we do animation another lesson? Yeah. The heads-up displays are another thing. Like they all tie together. Like once you start doing damage, you want to have a health bar. You know what I mean? And so there's a couple different ways of doing health bars in Unreal Engine, and so yeah, let's see. Okay, so let's see how this goes. So we've got our goblin and we've got our person. What do you want to do first? Do you want to have the goblin damage the person, or the person damage the goblin? Which one do you guys want to see? You want to see the person be able to kill the goblin first, or the goblin kill the person first? We'll do both. Just toss out an idea here. Person damage goblin, goblin damage person. Looks like person damage goblin first. Okay, cool. So we've got our Confetti Ball blueprint here, right? And our Confetti Ball blueprint, do we have does a flamethrower still work? Does that? No, that was in the other one. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, so we've got our Confetti Ball, which we probably should put a Niagara effect in to make it go boom and like shoot confetti everywhere. You know, like it's Sailor Moon or something. Right now it's an explosion, but either way. So right now it is the Confetti Ball. If it hits the main character, it does nothing and moves on. Okay. So spawn emitter at location. Okay, so it's going to do the explosion. We then find everybody within a radius of 1,000. We should probably promote that to a variable. That seems like the kind of thing that should be a variable. And compile and save. And so basically, you know, if you ever want to know what the explosion radius is, you know, you can just compile it. You can see it right here. So rather than having to like dig around to find out how big the explosion radius is, you can just have it be a variable. That's the better way of doing it. Okay, so then for each person we hit, it's going to return this thing here. And right now it's only doing things to things that simulate physics. And we should add in a check to be like, did we hit the goblin? You know, and there's, again, better ways of doing this. But we only have one monster right now, so we'll just quick and dirty it. All right, so okay, let's move that over to the right there, and yeah, okay. Your confetti ball never worked. You don't have a working one. I'll screenshot this again for you. I don't know. Okay, so what we want to do is say if the thing we hit is a gobbo, right? So we want to say cast 2 sock goblin. What do we call it? Goblin. What's the name of our class? Sock goblin. Okay. And oh, that's the hit component. Hit actor. That's the one we need. Okay. Cast 2 gobbo. Okay. So this is up here, and this is here. And then if it is not a goblin, then we'll go on and see if it simulates physics. If it is a goblin, then we're going to do this. So what are we going to do? First of all, we need to add health to the goblin, right? So that's kind of an obvious thing there. So sock goblin, let's come up into you. And under the variables for the goblin, let's make a new variable, and this variable shall be called health. Okay. And health will be a float, I guess. And we'll make it public so that other things can access it. Or we can make a function on here that would be called if it takes damage, or we can do the Unreal Engine damage system. There's always a lot of different ways of doing things, and I sort of try to balance off between the simplest and easiest way and sort of like the proper way, which is usually a little bit more complicated. I think I've showed you the simple way for this. Can you screenshot the goblin? Yes. Yeah, all those are up in the chat. If you scroll up, all these should be up there. I wonder if there's like an easier way. Is there like a screenshot export or something? That would be nice, right? Nah, that'd be too nice. Yeah, so let me know if you couldn't find them. There, all these things I screenshotted at the end of class last time. I can redo them if you want to. Okay, so Archangel Torres is typing. So what do you guys want to see? Just like the official Unreal way of doing damage? I might screenshot tools plugin. Oh, all right. I like where this is going. Plugin screenshot tools is enabled. Okay, well, how do I use it? Unreal Engine is really big. It is quite massive. How do I... Oh, maybe that's for inside of the game. Like maybe it takes screenshots inside of the game when it's running. Screenshot. Yeah. Take a high-res screenshot. Yeah. I don't know if that helps in the editor. No into the depths of Unreal. It's Unreal. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Okay. So let's just do it the proper way. What do you guys say? Is that fine? It'll be a little bit more complicated. There's going to be some options we don't use, but yeah. Okay. So there is an event called event damage. Let's see here. Make event damage. AI report. Event any damage. Okay. So there's different kinds of damage. The default ones are point damage, which means you got shot in a place. And there's radial damage, which means an explosion went off near you. And it's like a stick of dynamite went off over here. And it's like, you know. So for this one, I think it's going to be radial damage, maybe. Because it's an explosion, so that makes sense to me. There's also any damage, which sometimes you just directly do damage to somebody, like if you've dotted them. Do you guys know what a dot is? Damage over time. That's a term used in some video games. Like you apply a dot and then they bleed 1 point of health every second. They bleed, something like that. So you can use any damage for that, or for just like generic damage. I think I'll do radial damage. That makes sense to me. And what's the first thing we do when we get a new event? What's the first thing we do? Print string. All right, let's just see if it worked. And so I'll just have it say oof if this event took place, and then we get a save it and compile it, and then over here, actually we probably don't even need to do this. We're going to be doing radial damage, so maybe we can even make this easier. Because what I was going to do is cast to the Sock Goblin and then directly reduce the Sock Goblin's health. If the Sock Goblin's health is 0, it goes away. But I think that we'll do it properly. So doing it properly means the Sock Goblin knows when to kill itself when its health is 0. So let's just try this over here. Do radial damage. Okay. Move all you to the right. And come in here. And okay, so how much damage should we do? How much life should a goblin have? Let's just put this aside and put on our game design hats. How much, how many times should we have to kill the goblin? That's really what it boils down to. What do you think? 50 points of damage. Okay. How much health should the goblin have? Like splitting ball nodes are in another project. How can I transfer them to the AI one? Yeah, if you while you guys are thinking about how, I'll get back to you in a second. While you're thinking about how to do that, if you have one project open, you can export it to another project. Now, this is something that really annoys me about Unreal Engine, is how terrible it is at importing. Exporting is fine. Importing is like, what? Importing from an Unreal project, it's really annoying. So if you have Unreal assets like U assets, importing them breaks so often. It's so annoying. So what you need to do is open up, like, especially when you get like you purchase an asset pack or something, a lot of times they'll come with a demo project, like this. You open it up and it's got all the assets laid out there. One of the reasons why you do that is because you can export easy. Importing, if you just drag it in, it'll sometimes work. It just kind of depends. All the references get broken and stuff like that. So if I wanted to export this, I could go right click, explosive barrel, and then go over to export, asset, actions, export. And I can export it to an FBX file, or I could go over here, go migrate, and I need to save first. And then it's going to save, it does a very smart thing. It figures out the thing that you need, and then all the things that thing needs. Like it's got materials and other stuff, right? And those materials need textures, and so it kind of iterates down all the dependencies, and then I'm like, yeah, I want all that to appear in another project. I hit OK. I then browse to whatever project I want to put the thing into. So like if I want this thing to appear in my Reality project, you put it into the content folder and hit select. If you don't choose the content folder, it'll warn you, and it warns you because it won't work. So you do the content folder and just hit OK, and then it puts that object and any of its dependencies into your project, and it will work beautifully. If you try importing by just dragging over U assets and stuff like that, it can work if you just copy the whole folder over. Like like the procedural walls folder here, if we show an explorer, if we were to just like copy this entire folder and bring that over, it'll work, because these things are imported at like the folder level. And so like all of these U assets refer to materials and things like that within their directory structure. So it'll work. But if you just need to like export one thing from it, then yeah, the migrate tools is the way to go. And the reason why you'd want to only do one is because these folders are gargantuan. Like they are really, really big. I think procedural walls is only like a gig. 1.4 gigs, sorry. But I mean, you have to understand, that's like larger than like Baldur's Gate 2. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Baldur's Gate 2, a complete Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game that takes 60 hours to beat or something, clocked in on a CD-ROM, you know, which is probably was around 500 or 600 megs, something like that. Yeah, so... yeah, I can export maybe I can export the ball for you and then just put it up on Dropbox, and then you can bring it in or something. And then once you bring it in, then all you need to do is tie it into your first-person character or third-person character, which when you click, you spawn it. So that's how you put a new object in the world. And if this isn't working, then the thing won't spawn either. So you have to both do the glitter ball, and you have to link it so that when you click, the ball appears. Okay. Directory names, yeah, okay. All right, so where were we? Health. So Torres says 60 points of health and 50 points of damage. Sounds good to me. So I'm going to promote the amount of damage to a variable, because that seems like the kind of thing that should be a variable. Things like the explosion radius, the amount of damage it does, these things should be variables, just philosophically speaking. We'll compile that, and you know, I'm going to make those public just in case I want something else to mess with them. Like maybe if the player like holds down click or something, it could be a bigger explosion with more damage. I don't know. So the explosion radius defaults to 1,000, 10 meters. In other words, the base damage. Torres wanted 50. And then the health of the goblin over here, health of the goblin, we're going to set this to be 60. Okay. So each time we take damage, we're just going to print oof. We're not going to actually do any health things yet. We're just going to print oof. And you get saved, and you get saved. What are we upset about here? I need to hook something up. Origin, yeah. Okay. So the hit location is going to go into there. That's the place where the explosion is going to come from. That's the amount of damage we're going to do, 50. The damage radius is going to be the same as the explosion radius. And again, you can just drag that on top, or you could drag it out and choose get. Either way. I've been using Scratch too much, where you just drop things off on the left-hand side to delete them. Damage type class. Okay, so let's this is why I'm saying, like, the Unreal system is more complicated than what we need. But you know, if you want to learn the proper way, why not? You know. Okay, so there are damage type classes, and so in most complicated video games, they'll have different types of damage. For example, you can have piercing damage and bludgeoning and slashing, your classic 3 physical damage types from role-playing games, Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder and things like that. Or you can have fire damage or lightning damage and things like that. And so you can make it so that the glitter bomb does, you know, and you can make your own, right? Right now we don't have any of that set up, so we're going to ignore it because it doesn't matter. We're just going to have damage. I could show you the source code to Team Fortress, where there's different damage types. You have different armors that protect you from different damage types, but same principle. Yeah, same principle. Right now we're just going to do damage. Like, you just take 50 damage. What kind of damage? It's just damage, glitter damage. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, we'll go over animations. You guys don't need to worry too much about that right now. Ignore actors. You can pass in an array, and that is all of the people that it won't do damage to. So I'm going to pass in myself. I don't want to take splash damage, or maybe maybe I do. What do you think? Should we? What do you think? Yes to confetti damage. All right. Well, this is how you would ignore it. So you can choose a player. Is that the right type? I don't know. We'll find out. And it will. You can pass it a list of things that don't take damage from it. So, for example, you could add more elements here and have like, if you have a killer whale or something, killer whales don't take damage from graffiti. Like you can pass in a list of things here that will get ignored by the apply radial damage thing, which is nice. Otherwise, you have to do all this stuff yourself. Who is the damage causer? Me. I am the damage causer. Okay, and you do that for like points, right? Like when you kill somebody in a video game, right? A lot of times it'll say so and so, weapon type, name of person killed. Have you guys seen that? Like Halo, any first-person shooter will usually show, XX 420. Big weed, sniper rifle, you know what I'm talking about. So, how do you get the sockets again? Okay, so the sockets are found on a skeletal mesh. And so for you, it's probably going to be like the mannequin or whatever. Basically, you're going to click on your skeletal mesh and go to the skeleton. And you can right-click on something and add a socket. You don't need a socket, by the way. You can just manually add to the origin of the person is right here. So you just add a little bit in the Z direction, add a little bit in the forward direction, and have it come out there. Sockets are just kind of a, easy way of marking places in space. I'll typically have sockets for the hands so that we can quickly, like you pick up a magic wand, put the wand in the socket for the hand. And then no matter how the skeletal mesh animates around, it'll just, the wand will come with it. Okay. So, you right click on a bone and choose add socket. And then you give it a name and make sure that you remember the name because you have to type them. Okay, so you go away. All right, so confetti ball blueprint. Okay, so I am the damage causer. I will get credit for the kill. Okay. So the skeletal mesh, click on the double click on the skeleton. Double click on the skeleton. The physics asset controls how it ragdolls and things like that, and how it collides with things. There's a female mannequin and a male mannequin, but if they share the same skeleton, then if you add a socket to the skeleton, it'll be shared on both of the skeletal meshes that use that skeleton. And again, we're kind of getting to the animation side of things right now, which I'm just going to kind of pass on. But basically, you can add a socket to a mesh, but then it's only on that mesh. So like if the male has like a backpack and the female doesn't, then you can add a socket for the backpack where the backpack would go. But usually you add it to the skeleton so that if you add a socket for the right hand and the left hand, both the male and the female skeletons, mannequins, you will have those sockets on them. Okay, so right now we have no point system in the game, so if we left this unconnected, sorry. No, we are the damage instigator, not the damage causer. Controller object reference. Sorry. The damage causer is the glitter bomb itself. So we'll pull out from that. Go to self. Okay, I need to clean this up a little bit. Basically, you pass two things to it. The first is like the rocket that hit you, and the second thing is the owner of the rocket. And this is very common in game code, right? Whenever you do damage to somebody, you need to know the thing that hit me. Because sometimes you want to know, like, is the thing that hit me a rocket? Is it a grenade? Because sometimes you need to special case those things. Also, it could be useful to know where the location of the rocket is. Is it underwater? There's different What's its relation to me? If it's above me, I'll get knocked down or something like that. So you pass in a reference to the glitter bomb itself, and you pass in a reference to the owner of the glitter bomb, and then you get points. Do full damage means no radius fall off, I believe, right? And then damage prevention channel means that it will do a line of sight test. So if you're behind a wall, it'll block the damage. And so visibility means anything that blocks visibility will block the explosion. And there's different options there. We'll just leave that as the default. Okay. So that's your options, and these are fairly standard kinds of things you do in damage functions. I made the socket for the ball to do damage in his hand. I'll do damage in his hand. You mean for the ball to appear in the hand, or something? What do you mean? What do you mean for the ball to do damage in his hand? Added it. Yeah. So you made a socket for the hand, and then when you click, when you have input action attack, when you click, you can get the location of a socket by pulling in your mesh, attaching that to get socket location, and then typing in the name of the socket exactly. And then that will tell you where your hand is. So whatever your socket you named for the hand socket or something. You drag the mesh in, that's your skeletal mesh, that's this thing here. You'll look like a mannequin, obviously. And then you drag that in, and then you drag off it, get socket location, and this is the place where the ball will appear. Okay? And I put the socket, the confetti socket, it's the place where the confetti ball appears, and I just put it in front of the player a little bit so I don't run into it. And then that's the place where it appears, and the velocity I set equal to my forward vector, the direction I'm looking, times 5,000, so it travels at 50 meters a second, and that's the new velocity for the object. So we spawn it, and then we set its velocity. So this is very, very common. Whenever you place things in the world, you give it a position, a rotation, a scale, and a velocity. Those are like the 4 main things that you do. Not everything obviously has a velocity. It's part of the physics engine, so that's broken out separately. But everything that appears in the world will have a location, rotation, and scale. Okay. So let's come back over here. So I think we're done here. So basically, apply radial damage, set the explosion radius, the damage, and the origin, and you're done. The rest of this you can just leave alone, and it won't matter. But I'm just kind of explaining what all these options are. So we'll save that. Do that. Okay, Sock Goblin now has a event called Event Radial Damage, and so when we take radial damage, we'll just print oof, and let's just see if this works. Because there's always, the big danger in Unreal Engine is that you do all this stuff, and then like you hit it and like nothing happens. So you always start with just oof, nothing, 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 oof, right? Because the wall is blocking line of sight here, right? Oof, 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 oof. Okay, good, it works. But your collision settings aren't set right, or there's a number of ways that you can just have nothing happen. So I always start by just printing a string and just making sure that basic connection, because I got one blueprint over here that's doing damage, and I got one blueprint over here taking damage. I want to make sure they're talking to each other. Okay. So now that I've got that, let's print how much damage we're taking. All right. So let's do something. Let's make it a little nice. Let's make it a little nicer. Okay. Plus string append. Let's just show you guys. String. There we go. I'm just going to show you guys a little something. Took damage. So rather than just printing the number, which I was gonna do. I'm gonna make it a little bit nicer looking, just for you guys, so you can see how that works. So I'll do that. Okay. So you can make a string, and then there's an append where you can append the damage to it. And do I have a space there? I do. Good. Okay, so you don't have to do this. Normally I would just print the number. It's a waste of time to do this because I'm going to delete it in a second. But I just want to show you that because you can do that if you want. So 18 damage, 42 damage, 37 damage, direct hit, 50 damage, 50 damage, 50 damage. Yeah, get wrecked, get wrecked. Yeah. All right. So you notice how there's a damage fall off, right? When I'm not close to it, you see how it's only doing like 25 damage over here, 4 damage, 1 damage. That's a pretty big radius. So it is splashing damage far, right? So the damage radius on this is probably a little bit too big, actually. So the explosion radius, I will set to be 500 instead. And this is going to, the reason why it was so big was so that our physics thing could, oh, that's actually a different radius. Ah, yeah, you need to be a separate variable. This is going to be the physics push radius. And that's fine. We can have that be a bigger number, and U could be called physics push strength. And we'll set those to public just in case I want to mess with them later in another blueprint. Okay, so good. So our damaging radius is 500, and then our physics push radius to knock things away is 1,000, and that should be good. All this is still correct. Okay, so we're gonna decrease the radius by half. That seems fine, and the base damage I think seems fine to me as well. So the Goblin's health is set to 60. Okay, so now all we need to do, I'm gonna delete all that beautiful printing stuff that I did. I will just set health equal to my current health minus how much damage I took. Okay, so you guys see how that works? So it's going to get our current health, which is 60 to begin with. We took 10 damage, we take 60 minus 10, we get 50, and we set our current health to be 50. We could figure out what the damage type is, we could figure out what the origin is, we could figure out all sorts of stuff. The rocket, or the confetti bomb, we call it, the owner of the glitter bomb, all that information is provided to us, and we're just not using it at all. You know, that's why I said you just leave all that on set, because right now all we want to really do, oh, and then we want to print our current health, right? So let's do this, and we print the string, and not for the duration, no. We want to print our current health. So again, just as you go along, just print the string and pull them out afterwards, because otherwise your game is going to be filled with all these things appearing on the console. You just do that just to make sure that things are working right, and then you immediately pull it out. So no line of sight. There we go. It's going death. It doesn't die. How do you kill that which cannot be killed? Oh, look at that. That's interesting. Okay. So when even death must die. All right. So we need to add death to it. The pretty obvious thing is you die when you hit 0, right? So we'll do a branch. So there is a shortcut for branch, by the way. I normally just type. You can type if, actually, and that'll give you a branch. You can just type branch, but there's a shortcut. If you hold down B and click, it will give you a branch. And so if the health is less than or equal to 0, then we dead. Okay. And we will just destroy actor. Okay. Compile, save, play, and it's dead. Okay. The nice thing about this approach is that the glitter bomb doesn't need to know anything. Like, the quick and dirty way would have the glitter bomb decrementing the health and deleting the goblin and all this stuff, and it really just doesn't need to know about it. Instead, it just does a radius damage, and you can choose to ignore things that shouldn't be damaged, but it, just everything in the radius that can take damage takes damage, and you don't need to worry about it. We can make multiple of these goblins. Alt drag, end, alt drag, end. And now if we play, you can see we've got a bunch of goblins coming after us now. Oh no. This one's stuck. No. Ah! 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 Die. Die. Okay. Crunch. This one seems stuck. You stuckies. You okay there? AI? Is the pathfinding broken on you? Interesting. Hit P. Oh, it actually started in an area that the pathfinding was turned off on. That's or something. It's weird. Okay, let's toss you over here. Did I move the world? No. Let's move the player. Okay. Okay. There we go. And so now it's working. Good. So all these guys are chasing after me. Yeah, boxing me in. Ah! Death. Death. Okay. The explosion radius is set to 500 right now. And there is radius fall off, so shots that are further away do less damage, as you can see. I have to shoot it more times. But if I do a direct shot, they die pretty quickly. Okay. Cool, right? There you go. We've got the ability to fight enemies now. They can't fight us. All they can do is sort of box us in physically. Upon 0 health, it'll have to have a reaction. Yeah. So there are these things called pain animations that normally play like when you hit a monster. They go, "Ah," you know. They flinch. A lot of times it turns off their attack animation, which makes it really nice from a strategic standpoint. When you're pumping damage into a monster, when they're flinching, they're not fighting, and so it's good to suppress their ability to attack you sometimes. Slowing their movement speed is easy. Yeah, it is. But I can also kill them real easy because the shots do a lot of damage. Close, a direct hit is gonna 2-shot them, right? 2 shots and they're dead. So, so what's next? So I think this part's fine. We still got 45 minutes left in class, and you know I can make the mesh the nav mesh bigger. I can put some of these. Let's do that, I guess. Nav mesh, and I'm going to zoom out a ways, and you are going to get 5 times bigger. Okay. Lock it down. And it's now covering almost the whole island. Probably needs to be a little bit bigger. Okay. You can see it solving the pathfinding equation. Okay, so there you go. So it can pathfind over the island now. Walk out over the water here. Ha ha ha! Stupid AI. Stupid AI. Ha ha ha. This is a brush here, so fighting the Jesus Goblin apparently. All right, so these guys are coming at me. All right, here we go. Dead. What kind of topic would you like to get into further? I think the obvious next step is to have the goblins damage us, right? Like I think that's kind of the, if we want to make this a game, you know, we need to do that. And these guys over here, let's just alt drag it over to here. Let's have like a surprise goblin rotated face outwards. We'll have a couple goblins in the fortress here. Put one out back. Okay. And drop to the ground. Okay. So there we got some goblins up in the castle. And these guys can't see me, so they're just going to mill about. Let's see if I can see what they're up to up in there. Oh, dang it. When I got close, the radius search found me. They heard me through the wall. Maybe that's something I should fix. I wonder if the nav mesh doesn't work here. This guy seems to be unable to pathfind out of the door. Interesting. Yeah, the nav mesh isn't working inside there. Let's see. There we go. Good. Yeah, it all seems to be working. Okay. So let's hit P again to turn that off. So let's do the goblins damaging us. Okay. So again, we can use the real system or fake it, or I guess we can just keep using the Unreal Engine system. It seems like it's not too complicated for you guys, right? There's just some options we're not like using, but you just don't have to use them, right? Okay. Not too bad. Okay. All right. So then. We need to have the goblins do an attack. Oh, we should probably also have some sort of like sound for like when it dies. Right? It seems very anticlimactic right now to just have them vanish. Right? So let's see here. Free. Classic. Okay. This is a sound effect that's used in so many places in Hollywood. We'll download that and save it here. We'll just call it welcome. Okay. and then there's a couple different ways you can import things. The green button, add import. Easy. It's probably even easier to just go over to your desktop and drag Wilhelm into here. Failed to import. Oh. It's odd. Okay. Import. Failed to create asset. Might be the format. Yeah. I mean, Wave is the go-to file format that Unreal Engine uses. So, huh. Okay. A little bit too. All right. Huh.
Go away, human!
iTunes, you're super annoying. Let's see if I can find something here. These are Wave. I don't know why that one didn't work. Yeah, I'll just try a different one, I guess. Alright, that's pretty good. I like that one. Alright, let's do that one. Download. Let's see if this one works. Save file to the desktop. Alright. I'm not going to close it. I'm just going to import. And there we go. That one worked. Okay. Okay, so I don't know. There's probably something with the other one. We'll call this Goblin Death or something like that. And whenever you import a sound, it's usually a good idea to turn it into a sound cue like that, and just leave it as is. A sound cue allows you to do lots of things with it, add reverb and repeat and things like that. The most common thing would be to have it randomly change pitch and things like that. But we'll just leave that one for now. We're not doing audio today. Okay, so where's the goblin? There we go. Okay, so when we die, we will just play a sound at location, and the sound will be Goblin Death. Like I said, usually when you use a cue instead of the raw wave file, just because it gives you more flexibility with what you want to do with it. And then the death is not going to be the origin of the explosion. The death is going to be at the location of us. So technically at eye point, I guess. We'll just get the location of that. Get the roll location, and that will tell us the location of that point right here. So that's wherever that is in the world, that is going to be where the death sound comes from. Compile, save. There you go. So it now sounds a little bit more meaty, you know, when we kill somebody. The trace lines, I'm going to turn off the draw debug because we don't need those anymore. We know that it's working. The confetti ball, draw debug is off. Okay. All right. Oh, you can't hear them? Okay, let me switch the streaming for you. This is called... see that. And then if I hit play, did the thing come through? Like, yeah. When I share the screen, which I need to do to get multiple windows streamed, sounds don't get streamed. It's a limitation in Discord. Okay. Cool. So now, next up, having them damage the player. What should they do? Should they shoot, hit scan weapons, melee attack, projectile attack? What should they do? Melee. Okay. All right. So if they're within, I don't know, a couple meters or something, shank us. Okay. All right. Okay. So if so when we can see the player, that's right here. Right now, all we're doing is saying move to the player over and over again. Even if we're close to them, we keep trying to move to the player. So we'll just, that's why the goblins keep like just running up to your leg and biting your leg. They're both running. Yeah, I agree. So what we want to do is maybe we don't need to move to the player if we're like within, I don't know, melee range. What's melee range? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's make a variable for that. Let's make a variable called melee range. And maybe we'll make that visible so that other things can modify it. Probably not, though. So what we want to do is find out if we are within melee range. So walk to player randomly patrol. Okay. I guess we can just pull out from here, actually. And then just attack. Maybe we just, like, attack if they're within, like, melee range. Okay, so branch. And so the distance from the player to the goblin is vector length, if you remember that. So we have it over here, actually. So You are the distance we are away. So do I want to drag this thing over? Or do I want to make a variable for it? I'll just make a variable for it. Okay, so vector length. And then you get promoted to a variable. Okay, so doop and doop, like that. And so new variable is can be called distance to player. And so basically we're just going to set that over here because I don't want to drag a line all the way over that way. It's going to cut down on spaghetti. So basically on our way over, we're going to compute the distance to the player. That's our location minus their location, or yeah, our being the player's location. It actually doesn't matter which one you do first for distance. So we subtract the two locations out of the world. They're somewhere in the world, and they're maybe 10 meters apart. So we subtract the two positions, and we get a vector that's 10 meters long, and we find out that it's 10 meters long because we do vector length on it. Okay, and so and we could hook it up this way if we wanted. So we're going to save that as the distance to the player. Then over here, we're just going to say if the distance to the player, get the distance to the player. So if the distance to the player is less than, the distance to the player is less than what? Melee range, right? That's what that variable is there for. And melee range needs to be compiled. Let's try, what, 3 meters, maybe? Something like that. So if it's within melee range, then if the player is within melee range, shank him. Okay. It's the Goblin way. So does this make sense to you guys? Like this is a trick that you can do. You can just set a variable like over here, and then like just read it over here. If we didn't want to do that, we would have to like drag this line like half the world away. So yeah, it's just to clean up the thing a little bit. Okay. So if the distance to the player is less than the melee range, then let's do damage. Normally we'd do like a animation, like an attack animation or something, but let's just do damage. So point damage, radial damage, direct damage. Let's do regular damage. Okay. And we're just going to directly reduce their health. These things don't line up evenly. Aw, it's so annoying. There, okay. Okay, so how much damage should the Goblin do to the player? And these things also don't line up evenly. That's annoying too. Okay. Q. There. Okay. 5 to 10. Okay, yeah, let's do random. That's cool. All right, so melee range. We should make this a variable also, and this variable should be called melee damage. And we can either do a flat like 10 per hit, or we can make it random. Let's say goblins do 1 die 8 damage, 1 to 8 damage, or something like that. Nah, they use daggers. They should use a D4. It's D&D, right? So we will say random int, random integer in range, like that. So the minimum will be 1. Oh, that's an integer. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, melee damage, we can turn that into an int, actually. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Get melee damage. So melee damage will be 8. And so the maximum damage we'll do is melee damage. And the minimum we'll do is 1. So this will roll a random die from 1 to 8. And then that's how much damage we're going to do. And it's going to convert that to a float for us. Not line up the lines again, of course. Okay. Damage instigator is us. Damage causer is also us. Say self. That. So we are the person doing the damage. Damage type, we'd probably add like a melee damage type or something like that if we're going to do something cool. And then the important thing is the damaged actor. And so we will just like get player. And we're running out of room. There we go. So, good. And then what do we need to do to make this work on the player? Two plus 2d4. I mean, maybe they're gonna sneak attacks. They do a d4 plus a d6 and sneak attack or something like that. Yeah, we could do that. Add another integer, and then this one will be a random range also, and this will be 1 to 6. A little sneak attack damage on him. There we go. So we're fighting goblin rogues here. And that comes up there. And there. Okay, so we're gonna do a 1 to 8. Let's make that 1 to 4. It's a dagger. D4 plus a D6 sneak attack. Okay. And then we're going to do that to the player. Backstab the kneecaps, exactly. Okay, so now that we got all that, we need the player to take damage. Okay, so let's come over to the main character, which for you is probably called third person thing. And which event do we need to handle? We need to add a new event here. Remember, when you do video games, it's very event-driven. Things happen, and your code reacts to it. So this code won't get called until you take damage. So what event is it? Do you guys remember? Event on damage. There's 3 different event on damages. Let's see here. Handling mouse, turning. Let's just stick it down here, I guess. Yeah, so if you just type event damage and scroll up, because it hides it for some reason, you'll see that there are 3 events that you can do. You can have any damage, point damage, and radial damage. We're just taking raw damage, so that's the correct one. And if you do radial damage or point damage, this will still get called. Okay, so let's pull out here and just do a little print string. And let's just print how much damage we're taking. As always, let's just see if everything talks to each other, because it doesn't always. And we'll snap you over here. Okay, hit play. 3 damage, 9 damage, 5, 3, 5, 8, 7, 7, 7. Yeah, okay. And they're all dead. Okay. So, yeah, cool. Alright. So, main character. We need to add health for the player. So we'll make a variable called health. And this variable can be a float. I don't really care. It could be private, I guess. So we'll do the same thing over here that we did before, which is we're going to set health. And we're going to set the health to get health minus the damage. You guys with me? So code handle taking damage. And then we'll probably like print string, and we'll print our current health. And we need to compile, and then start with 100 health or something. Okay, so it should print as we take damage, 93, 88, 74, 64. So we are taking damage from the goblin rogues that are backstabbing us. And we are now dead. And more dead. And even more dead. And one of these guys is wandering off. Uh-oh. Coming for me. I'm doing the sound effects for you guys. Okay. It's an overflow, so you've achieved immortality. Yeah, if you take enough damage at once, it'll underflow and you'll go up to max. Just stack enough modifiers on yourself. Vulnerability times 1,000,000, and then you can achieve immortality. That's true. It's very true. Except we're using health for a float, so it won't underflow. Okay. So what's the last thing we need to do here? What's the missing last step? We die. Yeah. So we need a game over screen, which we'll do not today. Today we're just doing the damage system. Yeah. So, and maybe we should play a sound too. I don't know. Let's do a voice recorder. That work? No. It's not working. Went to all that effort. Effort. Let's trash out. There you go. So, super duper. Her name. Death sound. Open file location. That's it. Really. So Windows used. That's fine. Windows used to save WAV files, which was really nice. Now they're saving it in 4A. Can't remember if Unreal will import it or not. Good. Does it? No. Does it? No. It's unfortunate. So annoying. We need to do anims for the night. Yeah. No, the anims for the night exist. I just haven't built an animation blueprint for it yet. We need to do animations and stuff like that too. So M4A to wave converter. Super annoying. Alright, choose files. Choose files. Death sound. Convert. I do have VLC, yeah. This isn't too slow though. Slow enough to annoy me, but not so slow that I'm going to open up a program. Okay, so first example map. Okay, I deleted the other one, right? Okay. Add import. Okay, there we go. Make a sound cue out of it, just fine. And then let's do this. So main character, when we will come over here and go branchy branch. And so if our health is less than 0, then we dead. So we'll play sound at location. Technically, we can. Let's just play 2D sound actually. Play 2D sound because it's us that's dying. So it would be kind of weird to do attenuation and stuff like that on it. So 2D sound just comes out of your speakers. Like it's nothing. If there's a wall between our character dying and us, we would still hear it. Okay, which is kind of what we want when we die. So death sound cue. Okay, and it's just gonna play out of the speakers. Maybe we'll make it a little bit louder. I recorded it a little quiet. And then we would need to do like a respawn and reset our health, reset the world. Let's just destroy actor. need to play game over screen. There's a lot of things we should be doing there. We'll just kill the actor and see what happens. Huh? Whoa, that thing look at that. That thing flew. Holy smokes. That's the real glitter bomb. Ah. That's it. Game over. Okay. So there we go. Goblins are still alive. It did, didn't it? That is hilarious. And then, yeah, all this stuff will break after you're dead because the none of this should work because the player's not valid anymore. So is the player valid? Should be a check we do first. Get player. Okay. So if player dead, do nothing. Okay. That's a little check you can add in as well. So there's a block called is valid. So I mean technically it doesn't matter, but it's going to give you a lot of errors because it's trying to like see where the player is and the player doesn't exist. And fortunately Unreal Engine doesn't crash or anything like that, but it will log it as an error. And so you need to make sure that the player is valid before getting anything. And now that the player is invalid, you notice they're not moving anymore because all that code to move to the player and stuff, that's after that branch we put in there. See? No error messages. So technically it doesn't really matter what you do after the game's over because you're going to be displaying like a game over screen, wasted, you know, whatever. So that's how you stop that error, because otherwise you're going to be grabbing the location of somebody that does not exist. And Unreal Engine is nice. If you did that on my game engine that I wrote, it would crash. Why? Because everything involved pointers. I would have a pointer to the first player, and as the AI was trying to attack you, it would keep using that pointer, and if you destroyed the player, the pointer would be pointing at some unallocated block of memory, and who knows what the hell will happen. So one approach a lot of people take is they just don't ever destroy the player. They just put the player in a state where they can't move or do anything, right? So like you hide the player instead. So when the player dies, you hide them, you put a corpse on the ground where they were, and yeah, let's do that. And then you don't delete the main player, which can be, it can cause a lot, because this is just one AI, right? And there's potentially a lot of code that's going to be using get the first player, you know, and all that code would have to have this block here on it, which is probably good practice anyway, but maybe a better way is rather than destroying the actor, we will hide the actor. Yep. Let's see, set visibility. So we're getting shanked. Now the problem is we're still moving, right? Right. So there's a little more you need to do. Like you need to be like, if we're dead, you know, ignore any more damage and stuff like that. You need to turn off the player movement. We got 9 minutes left, and you need to spawn a corpse. So let's do the corpse first. No, let's stop that annoying bug. Handle taking damage. So over here, branch. Alright. Yeah, let's do this. Set actor hidden, and then we're actually going to just make a new variable called dead, and we're just going to set that to true. Okay. Set dead. And if you're doing one of these games like a Gears of War or something like that, you could be like in the dying state where you like collapse to the ground. You're like, help, help, and maybe you can crawl around a little bit and maybe shoot your pistol, you know, and then people can come up and shoot you a few more times and then you die for real. So there's different ways you can handle this. I'm just going to have like a game over kind of dead, but I just don't want to break all of the other code in the game that uses player one. Because, you know, there's going to be potentially, like, there could be gates that are checking to see if you're nearby and should open if you're nearby. And there's, you know, there's pros and cons for all this stuff. But I'm just going to set a variable here called dead. And then if I take any damage when dead, drag that over here. If I take any damage when dead, I just don't do anything. Okay. So if dead is true, we just ignore all future damage. Easy peasy. We can also set our health to 0. That's actually good. If you ever drop below 0 health, it's kind of a good practice to set your health to 0, because a lot of times you'll have display elements that will scale based on your health, like a health bar. And if you go negative health, then it goes like this. Also, sometimes people use integers and floats somewhat interchangeably, and so there can be bugs that crop up when you have a health of like 0.5. Because some of the code is like, if your health is below 1, you're dead, and 0.5 isn't dead, and so this is actually a bug in the original Quake. If you set your health to 0.5, you're not dead, but all of the game UE elements show you as dead, and you're going to be running around the game with your character apparently dead. It shows the 0 health. The face portrait of the Doom character is like all dead and stuff. But you're not actually dead. You're still alive, and you can fight at 100% efficiency because, of course, you can. In video games, there's no, you know, very, very rarely do you actually reduce your performance as you take damage. Whereas in real life, that's quite normal. Somebody breaks your arm, can't punch anymore, you know? So. Yeah, so this is just kind of a good practice to just keep, you know, anything that relies on your health from going the opposite way. What do we got? 6 minutes left. Let's try this first of all. We need to turn off movement. See, I can, at least I'm not taking damage now, but I can still move, I can sprint. Whee! Okay. So, Fallout series, yeah, and even still, like, it's pretty rare for you to actually have your arm crippled in the Fallout series. And if you do, you just pause and you apply, you know, the medicine to the arm. But like on bad guys, yeah, you can cripple their arms and things like that for sure. Yeah. There's a flaw you can take where you take double limb damage and then it starts coming up a little more, I think. Okay, so we need to stop us from being able to move, right? So let's come back into main character here and glitter ball. So probably we should not allow attacking if we're dead. Yeah, that isn't used at all anymore. Let's see here. Turn off... the mouse is fine, like rotating the camera is fine. But probably turning off jumping if we're dead, turning off movement if we're dead. So maybe destroy actor is the better approach, I don't know. But, or maybe you just delay for... maybe you delay and then come back to life or something. I don't know. maybe rather than messing with all that stuff, we can just like set our movement speed. What is it? Set maximum. Plot character movement. Set max walk speed. So set max walk speed to 0, and then we can't walk anymore. I hope. Do this. Now I can't move. I can still jump. Can't move. Right? So it's good to kind of collect all that stuff into one place. So rather than having all of the rest of your code need to know if you're dead or not, you can just turn off things like this. And then when you respawn, you could undo these things, right? Set your health back to 100, turn off the dead flag, turn your movement speed back up. By default, your movement speed is 600. Jumping, yeah, I'm not going to worry about jumping. I don't care. We need to spawn a corpse though, so let's do that. That was one thing I did want to show. So let's see here. We spawn a corpse. So, have a death animation. I don't. I need to get some of those then. That would have been nice. How do I not have a death animation? I guess I just didn't import it. Okay, so when he dies, maybe we'll do a is Mixo where I get all my animations? No, but it's where I get a lot of my animations. Yes. Okay. There's other places where you get animations too. I'm going to do this. Yeah, we're out of time. Basically, we could, when we go invisible, if maybe I'll whatever. We don't have time. But basically, we go invisible, then you spawn an object in our place where the thing collapses to the ground and sits there. And then when we respawn, we hide the corpse, or we have the corpse vanish after a certain number of seconds, and then we come back to life in the start location and stuff like that. So I think that was pretty good for today, though. I think we covered a lot of ground. We've got combat. Like, combat is now in the game. We can attack the goblins with our rocket launcher confetti bomb thing. The goblins can come up and shank us. We don't have any visual elements. We still need to do heads up display. We need to do respawning. Or we just destroy the actor and just end the game. Like, that works too. Game over screen, main menu screen. Yeah. But I think what we went over today was pretty good. So I will screenshot all of this for you. So Confetti Ball is inflict radius damage on all within radius. Yep. And then over here. Then over here, this is the explosion, and then physics, technically you're not part of it, you're an emitter. So that's the physics part of it. Okay, so this is the new part for today, so I'll screenshot for this all. There's the new part there, and then on the flip side, this. So our goblin will take damage. Only radius damage, but that's the only type of damage in the game right now. So we'll do that there. And then the goblin will do damage to the player. So we got the player damaging the goblin, and then we got the goblin damaging the player. Save, compile, save, compile. And then the player takes damage over here. It's one of the nice things about comments is that it allows you to just reorganize really easily like that. And there you go. So we got the player taking damage and dying. We got the player damaging the goblin damaging the player. We can spawn as many goblins as we want in the game. And yeah. So that's, it's kind of a working game now. Yeah, kind of is. So this is your homework. Make that happen. As always, go have fun with it. You know, add as many goblins as you want. They don't have to be goblins. They don't have to be melee attacks. You can have them shoot projectiles at you. The confetti ball. Yes. Yeah, that's the top one. Okay. This is on the confetti ball. Yeah. Yep. The bare bones of the game. Yeah. But it's combat, right? And so this is what we learn in IS-50A. You slowly build up in complexity, and you get the ability to make your own game. So it's pretty fun. I don't know. Maybe it's not fun for you. It's fun for me. So okay, so Mason, thanks for coming. And we'll switch over to IS-50B. All right, see you guys.